Welcome to Loleventvods. Watch the full game of today's LEC 2025 matchup.
It feels like they've been trying so many different things with these compositions. Like we saw the Nidalee game from Isma, they're trying with the Gallios, haven't quite worked out, and like even things like the elite support coming through from Nupi. I think just keep it simple and see if you can play through easy team fights and secure your win.
Yeah, to hit what you just talked about, identity defining split where they try and find out what works, but they have run out a bit of time. They need every single win they can get, and even then, it doesn't feel like their life is in their own hands. Now, Ambessa banned away. Zyra as well to start off the draft. Maokai has been a strong jungler. Nah going away. Remember things like Cassante first pickable as well. Where else do you want to start?
There's also like Victor is still a very strong pick that we've actually seen one of the champions that's given the most to SK, so maybe you're just not really worried about that.
Yep.
And Ezreal, also Varus, quite high priority, so it is just a case of where exactly you want to try and put your focus, but I wouldn't be surprised if Victor is left open that you just immediately go towards that.
How many Akali players have we got in the LEC? By the way, I've been told BDS actually just missed that ban, so we're getting fresh, and that means one extra pick's open, something like the Varus as well to add in.
Yeah, so curious. Victor would probably be the standard to me. But as you say, Cassante's open. You got the Varus as well. But I think here you can probably go towards the Victor, take the Varus for yourself here for Ice. And I think you've set up for a reasonably strong team fighting composition with a ton of AoE crowd control. So I think that's just a nice area to be. And then Irrelevant can even go back towards things like the Jax that we've seen already for himself into this matchup and still be completely fine.
A lot of people who just handshake the lane. You were talking about this, especially for the side of Isma before, but 113 is going to debut with it on the split. Remember, he's been playing Sejuani, Maokai. He's had a duty on this team with the Varus as well. Forgot to update. Damn, there was an Italy game there, Dagda. But outside of that, he has had the duty.
Yeah, see, the problem is he did the exact same thing as Isma, which is have a good start on the Nidalee and then not be able to do a huge amount with it.
Yep.
So still opting in towards, hey, range seems to be king for a lot of the LEC, but we've seen a mixed bag of if it actually gets to work out. So this is where you need to start off well, but I'm curious how they want to try and round out this composition, because right now Cassante should be reasonably fine on the top side. You've got the Victor as well, who can get a lot of control over the mid lane. And then I'm not sure how you want to try and go for jungle matchups here for Isma. Like maybe Xin Zhao is your option, or the Vi even just, you have to just start off these fights.
Yeah, Vi's still there, and pairing's okay. We get Xin Zhao instead, and this is something that Isma's played quite a lot of. Do we get a matching of mid here is the next question, because normally you'd see internationally be Akali. It's a Jace instead, which usually goes towards top.
Yeah, can go top, but also can go mid in this scenario, just because you already got that AP jungler, so you do have the mix. And I think in this case, having Irrelevant for something that he can kind of play that split push isn't the end of the world. That Jace can also slide into it. But I think, and the matchup is very good into Cassante if you want to go for it, but I think you can still go back towards things like the Jax if you really want to. It's just a question of how do BDS want to go forward. You can either go for more of the engaged supports and engaged top laners, so then you can solidify, hey, we can follow up once that poke lands, or do you want to just go even heavier into the poke and just say we're going to shove you off of any of these objectives?
I think the difference is here in the LEC though, we're stock and standard consistently, and like we haven't gone much outside the meta. You know, we haven't started experimenting with tops because we don't have to. It's not fearless, right? It's a single best of one, where everyone knows that the priority drafts are. As you said, Jax would have been a priority, because for BDS, for Irrelevant, historically, we've seen him on things like the Jax there as well. We've seen him on carry tops. Also shows us, by the way, that SK are thinking, yeah, that Jace could be exactly what Dagda was saying. Could be towards the mid lane.
It also could just be the Renekton ban to follow after this and just shove Irrelevant onto something that is not what we've seen from him thus far in the split, because it has just been the Renekton and the Cassante. He could also take the Jace into that top side. Nuke has played a different champion every single game so far, so maybe he wants to go for something a little bit funky in that mid lane, but I think the Jace kind of works in that flex spot anyway. So imagine we just get support here for Ice, or take him for Paris on this next rotation, and then you can just figure out what you want to do with this flex on the Jace.
Been hypercritical of Paris. I want to see what he lands on. It's probably taken away. Maybe opens up for something on SK's side. What are we going to support matchup? Rel's been mega big, Dagda. Let's just put that out there. Like, Rel has been the support of EU. I mean, it's been the support globally, right? But in EU, this has been the go-to.
Yeah, and I think you do need some sort of engage here, or at least counter-engage to make sure you're going to be fine. So Rel kind of fits both that. But now the question is, what do Rahel and Lupi want to try and take into the bot lane? core key I'm not the biggest fan of here. I think I was about to say love something like an Ashe. We haven't seen it a huge amount in LEC, but a lot over in the LCK and the LPL. And I think when you need something that is that go button to shoot off against that long range engage, that Ashe arrow is perfect. You can try and lock down some of these members and actually get the fight started. So I think it's a great idea to go for this.
Especially when it looks like you're going to be building off the skirmishes of Isma in this early game. Maybe we just get a cow to match because we've already got the Rel on the other side. Dagda, that's something thrown in there.
Yeah, it could also end up, yeah, I think just some sort of engage. Like Leona can also work, just that long range engage with the Solar Flare should be fine. But yeah, basically engage is what you need here because you don't really have that from the rest of your composition. So I love the Ashe. Whatever engage you have here is fine. And then we just get to figure out for BDS, where is this Jace going?
Finally solidify that solo lane. Let's find out now. Loopy has played a different support every single game day, by the way. 6 in total. We've even had the Elise, and you know what? This will be Brom number 2 if it gets locked in. Better skirmishing power, Dagda, but you use the word engage, and that's not something I pair with Brom.
Yeah, this is now everything on Rahel to land these Ashe arrows, or you just don't get an engage. And I wouldn't be surprised now to see like Cleanse on towards Varus get a heap of value. This would be a sick pick for Relevant at the top
Someone
side.
Loves Gwen.
Well, it's not only the fact that it's like good into the matchup against Cassante, it's you slam W, that Ashe arrow doesn't get to connect with you, right? So I think there's a lot of nice picks here that you can go for.
Sorry, I'm just laughing at the Gwen fan in the crowd. Like really upset.
Living their best life.
Gragas. Yeah. Gragas is still cute, guys. Don't take that away from him. At least the Rumble gets locked in, we get AP. Dagda, I also want to build off your point and say, without that engage, range looks real good and a lot easier to execute when nothing has the ability to close the gap.
Yeah, not gonna lie, SK's comp sucks here. I'm not having a good. Like,
love you, Dagda.
I think that like you have a composition that wants to have champions jump in on top of you, and then you can control space with the Victor. You can control space with the Xin Zhao, and same when it comes to the Cassante. And then you have this AD carry that should be dishing out a ton of damage with the Victor behind. But you have every champion on BDS can hit you from a screen away, and it's just like, all right, well, hopefully Rahel can hit some of these arrows, but it's not going to be easy onto some of these champions. And if you do, great. Well, now you got to walk through a Rumble ult as you try and play catch up with them.
I respect the hell out of you right now. Like, to say it how it is, and you're right. I mean, Loopy's going to have to get some uptime on that wall. That's what I'll say is a positive. And SK got to play this perfect. And let's be real, this 0-6 team has not been playing it perfect.
No.
We've had a lot of issues with how it's come together. We've talked about draft at the start of this draft, saying that SK have really struggled with an identity. What do they want to play? Like, we've had some of these front-to-back comps, we've had some of these high skirmishing drafts, and there's been this massive mixture with a couple of rookies coming in, and they're not really rookies, right? They've had their time, like Rika a couple of years ago, Genax the same as well. They've both had their time to show up, and unfortunately haven't done so. They've been given a second offer, and right now in their opening split, they're once again giving us a mild reaction.
It's just the... It feels like they decided this was what they're going to play regardless of what the enemy team had locked in. Like, I did like the Ashe pivot, and I thought that was sick. But to then say, hey, our only engage is going to be this Ashe ult is just not it. Because I think it's so easy for you to just throw down a Rumble ult as you try to follow up on any of it. Make it very difficult for that kind of through line of attack for SK. Yeah, it just even... like a flash kind of ruins the entire engage from SK, and then you just have no hope of really being able to follow up. So a lot of this is on Rahel, and if Rahel can pull out a miracle, well then maybe that's the miracle that SK need to not go 0-7.
Well, a miracle indeed. Every single game must be a win here as we open you to week 3 of the LEC, the final week of best of ones for the entire year, by the way. I know a lot of you are looking forward to that. 3 teams are locked in Fnatic, in KC, in Movistar Koi. Later on, and especially after this, we'll see if Giant can join the fray. But right now, SK are fighting to stay alive. And in the past, 2 wins has actually been enough for teams to get through in that 7th and 8th position. But they need to find them. And, you know, we were just talking about how difficult it is. Remember, they've got Rogue, yes, winnable. But then they've got Fnatic to finish up. For SK, an uphill battle. One that could be defined and their feet in the sand absolutely sunken if they don't get a win against BDS. BDS need a win to get themselves comfortable as we go into Summoner's Rift, and we welcome you back to the LEC for our final week of the regular season of Winter.
Yeah, this is do or die for SK. We'll have to see how they manage it, because a win here puts BDS up 1, and they're going to go to 3 wins, and then they don't really have any sort of option to chase people. So SK need to get off the bat rolling early, and it looks like they're going to go for an invade to try and throw this game. into the mix.
We're going to start taking notes. It's good with Loopy, but a Winter's Bite early as 113 spotted out. So now that Winter's Bite can't really poke out and get a slow. 113 just pays the respect, and with a standard lane swap here and Rika moving in, respect going to be given as BDS look to move bot.
Yeah, the real question though is how do they want to try and change things up here? So do they just full commit now to the top side with the bot lane, or it looks like that's going to be the case because the reset's coming through from Gen X. Paris has snuck into that top side though, which I don't think they've realized.
We're going to have to silence Isma soon. It's about the 5th time. I feel like we squelched people in the past. So it wouldn't be the first time here as Relevant walks down. And I was saying that BDS were going to go down because I was expecting 113 to maybe think about the deep ward he can get. But in fact, with a defensive ward set up by SK in their own red side jungle, right now there's a big opening advantage for Isma as Loopy and Rahel hover and now move to top lane to get matched, but opposite lanes.
Yeah, BDS are still hiding here. They don't want to show exactly where the lanes are. Rumble now has shown on the bot side, which is why Ice and Paris move out of the bush and start contesting this wave. But I think they're happy that they end up in the similar lane matchup because realistically, Rumble not going to survive as well as a Cassante if they end up going for some of these dives, and especially with something like an Ashe, and a Braum, it's very easy to land CC and also then follow up with that poke because of the long range of the Ashe. So BDS just going to have to play this one out nice and slow and make sure they're all going to be okay.
Yeah, Paris is the one giving respect, and I mean, this is one of the powers of the 2v2 Dagda and Braum Ashe. The sticking power early is pretty nice. Very easy to just get a lockdown here as Isma is still on the right side or wrong side, depending on what team you're a fan of, as he now hits level 3 as well. But the wave has been thinned out a little bit. The power of Varus here as Isma just walks back to his own side of the jungle and will clear out. Yeah,
it's just going to be a split match for both junglers as they try and clear out their respective sides because you can't really contest either direction. Isma has push on top. You can see the bot push for Relevant is there, so you get the invade from 113. I think it's more of a question mark as to what happens after that, as Nuke has taken some rough trades, but should be able to reset, TP back in. But yeah, I think it's more like as we start to look towards objectives and that we'll really start to see the push advantage that Rahel has come into play a factor towards moving at grubs.
Ice walks up. Paris is going to get stunned up in a second as well. No crash down available. We just remounted, and Rahel and Loopy, really good trading. You know, Dagda, as we see them battle it out a bit, there was something we're going to talk about. There was something we introed to as well as Isma heads towards top side. I might even hold on that thought as he's thinking about it.
Yeah. Rahel burnt the barrier to keep the trade at least somewhat even, but I don't think you can really go for the dive here, especially level 3 just hit by both. They're pretty healthy. Good ward from Paris to spot out this potential dive as well.
There is also a cleanse available in this lane. They look for the damage and the turn as 4 members are going to show up with the teleport. Rika at level 4, extra damage, healed burned early. The crash down under turret, a little bit messy, but Loopy flashes out. It's a trade for now. Turret ramping up onto Rika, but he will not take the 3rd shot, so it is a 2-for-1 in favor of SK.
So you end up getting the kill, but you're going to lose plates on mid if Nuke can stop the resets here, okay?
All right, let's have a pause to think about that one. Against at home. Yeah. They're actually in a 1v1. Isma's already flashed away, I believe. No, he hasn't. Nuke just solos in. And we come back, and Rahel now has to flash away as well. If 113 hit that javelin toss, it would have been an advantageous trade. I mean, Dagda, they're actually up on kills anyway, so...
Yeah, because they killed... So they got the kill onto Loopy underneath the tower.
Yep.
They got the kill on towards... Rika there with 113 as well, and Isma down behind the tower to Nuke. So you've now just completely fumbled all that. Rika has to do the long slow march back into mid lane.
Slow.
And now BDS are just in a really great spot at almost 1,000 gold lead, and they can get a lot of these early items so they can start to push over in towards the void groups as they spawn, like you see here.
That's what we missed.
Yeah, so Isma didn't walk out, reset on a ward, so Nuke hits the accelerated shock blast here, but they don't realize they're on the ward, so Isma gets interrupted, and then I think they stop to try and save Isma, but then doesn't realize that 113's in the area, so Rika ends up dying then to the Nidalee, now you've also got Rahel who's been chased down, so Rahel has to flash on the play as well. So when you start to look towards any sort of engage tools or a setup now for a void groups fight, I think for the next minute and a half, you kind of just have to give everything up as SK.
And Dagda, you know the half of it is as well, while SK initially traded good, the thing we haven't talked about is how well Rumble does into the Cassante lane.
Yeah.
And why a lot of the time when you're first picking Cassante, you ban away this Rumble, as Nuke might be in a bit of trouble. Will Win become Lightning or just a bit of a farce here? He's tagged, he's hit on the back, but you can still get the Shock Blast to get the push in and eventually reset this wave. Because Dagda, irrelevant. I mean, he's up in CS. He's now in that lane again. Cassante hates this, and double null magic mantle showing you what.
Yeah, so like the Rumble is going to be fine. You can see he's going to pick up a little bit of a CS lead here, but the big winners for me are, look, you can look at the bars and go, hey, if we look at that little purple bar underneath, you can see it doesn't match up to Rahel's. So he is a little bit behind, but Nuke is ahead, already clicking over to level 6. 113 has just hit level 6 as well. And we just said, hang on, you can't really go for this, Isma. Like, I think, well, they've moved the Brahmin towards mid lane, so maybe just the fact that they have the map movement here. But if I was BDS, I would have 100% been contesting this.
Yeah.
I think you're in a good spot with the move you already had for Ice to set up on the mid lane and then rotate across. But instead now, it looks like they're just going to try and drift over the Dragon. But the fact that SK get this when they have so little engage is kind of a shock to me. I thought BDS would have been able to poke them off just using that range advantage, but they're playing for gold on money on Ice instead.
Especially with the early burn. That's already coming out in the build-up to Leandre's 4-1-1-3, picked up a kill. I mean, BDS at least getting themselves bot-side plating, but you have to remember, they didn't pick up the grub, so it's going to be a bit slower. 1-1-3 hovering around as well as they start using their range.
It's also surprising to me to see, oh, hang on, BDS. Ice going for the on-hit Varus instead of the poke Varus. I assumed it would have been poke Varus just to play into the composition, but I don't think you really need like consistent DPS when Rumble and Jace are already there.
Maybe worried about Cassante at the very least. We can talk about that in a second. Isma's walking into a trap. He has audaciously charged this one, but even in a 1v1, how does it go? He's looking for the next knock-up. He flashes away, but to the other side of the map, why flash is the big question. And now Rika's just once again tried to help his jungler. Second time around, Dagda, that Rika's walked into trouble because Isma's been hurt.
Yeah, I don't understand why Isma flashed there. There was nowhere to go. He was pincered on all sides, and then Rika trying to help him out. I think at some stage, SK, you just kind of say, hey, look, we're dead. Like, we're going to leave it at that. Try not to burn as much as possible. Now you have 2 flashes gone, and the death goes across too. So, yeah, really just question marks for me from a lot of the SK plays.
Now, a lot of people might be tuning in and thinking like, man, you guys sound like you're down on SK. But again, it's fair criticism, especially when we've watched the first 2 weeks and a lot of these same recurring issues keep popping up. I mean, you got to remember for SK as well, changing coaching staff, changing structure, changing the parts that I think made them strong. Like, sure, Niski towards the end of the year, Dagger, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, had a bit of a slump, but over the year, Niski kind of was this reliable source, this great mid laner that I think, I mean, we had him on the cusp, that's why I'm calling him great, who SK could kind of sit on. And they had Rahel and Luon. Luon's now gone over to the LCPs, actually in the Australian team, weirdly enough. And they had this bot lane that was growing, that had a lot of skill. And for SK, it is just like a massive bit of whiplash.
Yeah, I don't think it's like one part changing, though. I think it's just lacking a clear identity or clear way of how they want to try and play out the game. Because you can see, like, they go for the dive on top, but Isma going over aggressive then gets caught out. Isma trying to take the aggressive path in mid gets caught out as well. Yeah. And you've kind of got these, sure they've played before, but they are still new-ish to the LEC, trying to cover for them, and they're getting caught out when a player with a bit more veterancy would just say, hey, look, you're dead, I'm going to leave you to it. True. So I think it's kind of like one thing goes wrong, and everyone jumps in to try to save the sinking ship instead of just going for the lifeboats. And I think that's kind of what the problem with SK is in a lot of situations. And the good news is, though, they're actually doing relatively well when it comes to objectives. They are. So, like, 3... Oh, hang on.
But where does it go from here? Chains of Corruption lands down, Ice gets in the circle, and you know what? That's going to be hard for Isma, because even though he gets the objective, he's giving more and more gold over, and Dagda, I'm seeing all red all the time here for BDS in the early game.
Yeah, it's looking pretty spot on for BDS in the early stages. The objective control is a little bit of a concern, just because it does mean, hey, as we start to get on towards the rest of the game, you're going to have to take things a little bit slow, because you can't force fights at, you know, an early dragon or, you know, burst open towers, because you've got 6 boy grubs. But even just compositionally, we kind of said SK's isn't in a great position, because you have to rely on Rahel with that level 6 to engage. So for BDS, being 2.5k gold ahead at this stage is massive for this style of comp.
You see Nidalee like that, you're looking pretty good. Now, just a reminder to everyone out there, well, again, I bring you back to the reality of SK. Just the thing we talked about at the start of the show that I want to reiterate on, this is their strength of schedule for the next 3 days. They end the split with Fnatic. I would say, Dagda, that the best chance they've got is winning 2 out of 3 of the games, bare minimum, so that they do put, you know, the odds kind of in their favor.
Yeah, the problem is if they lose here to BDS then go to 3 and 4.
Oh, yeah.
And then, yes, they're playing against Rogue, so they have maybe that step up to try and get over them, but they then need Heretics to lose every other game this weekend.
And Rogue to lose.
Exactly. So they're in a precarious position to start off with. And I just don't see a world where if they lose this game, yes, there are outcomes that make them exist in playoffs.
Yep.
I just don't see those outcomes as very likely, especially when they have to try and beat Fnatic and they haven't picked up a win against any other team in the league.
And in this best of one as well, we talk about gold. We also talk about the Grubs going over to BDS. So there's one objective for them in the game is SK's old top laner on a bit of an island here. So Paris needs to help out. He's level 6 now, though, as well as the fight over the Grubs might go even further. Ice is coming in, and BDS are about to encapsulate this whole bottom side of the river with a TP as well. Chains of Corruption, the Equalizer. SK are isolated and outnumbered, outmatched. Isma is doing a bit of work, but once again, he's going to be the first to drop. 4 deaths on the jungler, and BDS are taking him like a fly.
That's the flashes you like to see from Ice. Manages to just clip Isma. Now, Loopy stuck underneath tower. I don't think they can run out from this. Rahel has barrier, you have heal, but can you survive? It looks like BDS aren't going to try and fully commit to this, though.
Or they just keep throwing spears. You know what's even funnier, Dacta? BDS are currently in a 1-1-3, as he is actually backing here as well. 1 member in top, 1 member in mid. Didn't know if I had to explain that to you, as they are backing up the
solid
tone.
macro read.
Thank you. Yeah. When he had the KDA last week of 1-1-3, which is getting close, by the way. An opportune moment.
But yeah, I think this, we kind of said it from the get-go, this is not going to be a pretty game for SK to try and win. They needed to really get off the bat early, and it has just not gone their way. So at this stage, you open up mid, Ice and Paris, you can start to lean over towards, Dragons in a minute and a half, and you can lean down or lean up towards Rift Herald when you're in that position as well. So from this case, I think you just continuously look for the push with Ice, and you can already see they're starting to set up this vision control on the bottom side of the map. See here and here, and you just kind of play for the push in mid to set up further vision control and just make the game really difficult for SK to try and play, because again, without any real engage tools, you don't really get punished for being a bit more aggressive on it. So even if like Ice gets hit, he's got the cleanse, you're kind of looking for either 1-1-3 or actually Paris to be the ones that really get engaged on here from Rahel, but I just don't really know if you're in a position to fully go for it.
And when we see poke comps, when they have deep vision, like the vision you just kind of pulled out in the bottom side of the river, it's always a nice time because you see where your enemy's entering from and you get your free poke. Yeah. It's a lot easier to land when you know exactly the pathway they're taking.
And here's the push that we're talking about, right? And again, you're not really going to get punished because, Rahel has to try and hit an arrow onto a Paris with flash, Nidalee with flash, Nidalee with pounce. Like, you just don't really get to play the game. And again, every time that they set up vision in here, you're setting up for this potential. You're actually going to see it now, the roam down to sync up with the bottom side.
True.
And now you've got to completely abandon the bottom side turret as well because you just don't have anyone here. So here, like, BDS are actually just playing this really well on the bottom side.
And Rumble's the weak side laner has Equalizer to drop down to instant clear the wave. Big poke landing. Rika gets the front of it. 1-1-3 plays with it. Gravity Field now drops with it, and spears are going to keep flying out. Chaos Storm uses to clear the wave, and Loopy's here to defend. I mean, that's the problem. Rika's now going to back away. He has teleport. There's another wave incoming.
Yeah, and they had Rahel started to move down, but they were like, hey, do we try and go on towards Ice? But he can immediately burn cleanse, and then you're kind of fine. So you'd have to invest Isma's flash in that river to try and get on towards him. Or you just don't really get to do anything on bot side. So just the pressure from BDS on playing off of mid into jungle vision, into that bottom side was excellent. And now Gen X trying desperately to do something.
There's that Equalizer under turret range. He's going to be alled out. Irrelevant's close to dying, but they've run out. That's the spell weaving that Rika's now gone through as Isma's coming up as well. Wind becomes lightning. Paris is here to defend. Good sidestep. You're not going to get the harpoon, but he's under turret again, so Isma's going to take damage. Magnustorm draws him back in. He flashes the wind, does again, but with the ignite down, it's close to being a trade. Paris thinking about a remount. Gravity Field, Shattering Strike, and the support gets it done. SK are defending their lives in mid after a ultimate from Ice is sent out, but a 1-for-1.
But look at bots! We're about to take a tier 2 turret at bot lane. The Jace is just working away on it, so Paris gets the kill back. Rika gonna at least push him back. The bone plating making sure he basically takes nothing, but that Terror on bot is very, very close to dying. You had good push in mid for Ice, so even with it all said and done, what do you get?
This does feel like our first real massive, like, we've had draft gaps, and I know everyone has an opinion, and it can be an opinion in League of Legends, but this does feel like our first real, like, wow. Here's the results coming out of draft. And BDS weren't even picking up all the objectives. We didn't get objective fights. We got trades of the map.
Yeah, and that's where it's there's always the, like, draft influences, like, whatever X amount it is, and you can always outplay it. But in this case, like, SK have just done themselves no favors by giving over the early lead as well.
Yeah.
So in this position, like, it is the strongest version that this composition can be because they're the ones dictating the pace. And now you got to try and, like, you can see here, right? Like, how are you punishing this? Like, you have to fire this ult as Rahel, but you don't really have a target right now.
You just hope that BDS don't land the poke. Right now for 113, he's missing javelins, but I mean, if Loopy gets hit by one without Unbreakable up, it is a little bit dangerous, as this time the spear hits Rahel. Yeah. Okay, problem number 2, the 80 carries at 3/4 of their health, and SK are thinking about fishing around the Herald, but Dagda, I don't know if it's a safe spot to fish.
No, because you're just setting yourself up, because look how small these corridors are that SK are walking through. Like, you've got the Jace poke, you got the Nidalee poke. These are not your friends. So if you're in this position, it's great for BDS. So now you're probably going to have to look for it yet.
There's Arrow, Chain of Corruption. Okay, finally using their one tool. Ice almost trades it out. He flashes away onto Rahel. The auto forces the barrier. That's good. SK are getting run into now as well, and there's an opportunity as Rika's now joined up. The poke landing though is 113, and Rika having it out in melee range. Paris is here. Shattering Strike forces a flash from Rika. SK in a 3 versus 3, but they need to get in. Poke lands, and oh no, what a surprise! Flash away as BDS's jungler. He's getting poked out too. He's burning down, but he's still not dead, and nukes another element from the skies. BDS, it looked like they lost that Dagda, but I still think they won it.
But the thing was, Rahel found the target. Ice without cleanse, was actually a really good turnaround. But the follow-up after was, you need to disengage, because you're kind of one and done without any sort of follow-up engage. And BDS just continued to play at range. SK kept trying to step into range to do something. So you trade 1 for 1. But then afterwards, you get the Rift Herald. So you can see here, this is a good call from Rahel. Ice has no cleanse. Let's go for him. Yeah. He doesn't get the flash off in time, goes for the ult instead. And Nerly, as you say, does get the turnaround play. Barrier kind of coming in clutch there for Rahel at the end. But at this stage then, how do you try and follow up? Isma tries to go in, has to step away. And now you're hoping for a random Q from Loopy to hit to start things off. But you're against an incredibly mobile team. And they're just constantly kiting you out, kiting back, playing at range, waiting for the cooldowns, and then good job from 113, just immediately turns around the second he has a chance.
Have you gone to the arcade and played Dance Dance Revolution? You know, with the arrows?
Yeah.
That's kind of what SK have to do in the fight, you know? But it's like the challenger mode, where you're walking all over the place and you're about to fall over.
Yeah, it just says poor
yeah.
the entire time.
Stop making fun of me. SK are going to get a turret. Okay, we come back to live and at least they trade turrets. Gold lead is still 2.5 in the favor of BDS. But Herald went down. There's another Dragon coming up as well in a minute 10. Atakan is spawning, I believe, on the top side of the map. And again, when all these objectives are coming out, SK got to dodge every single bit of poke because they'll get chunked out before the fight even begins.
Yeah, I think the small solace here for SK is that Rahel, because you don't have that poke Varus build, does win mid-push and manages to outrange Ice. So Ice does have to be very careful, but with Cleanse back up, you can play a little bit more aggressive on the wave. But I think if I'm SK, to try and get back into this, just constantly ult Ice, try and burn that Cleanse, and hope then that you can win off of a team fight because Ice doesn't have that Cleanse up and available. But 40 seconds, until the Ocean Drake is up, means that you're just in a position where you can't really burn that. Nuke has got top tower, so you're answering tower for tower. You have at least a decent setup for SK on this bottom side, so maybe you can catch the poke comp as they try to regain vision. But it's still a toughie.
Rahel liking those odds, he's stepping up because, again, that arrow, now that it's out, it has to be used. Nuke is just going back to split pushing while BDS leave 3 members in mid, and I mean, side lanes are being battered here. And top is what I'm talking about.
But the problem is as well, Rahel just took a massive chunk of damage, so your engaged tool can't really stick around. Rift out now in the mid lane. So tier 2 top, gone. Tier 2 bot, under a lot of pressure. And now you're about to lose your tier 1 mid.
That's an easy charge. Almost able to step up. Isma is the one who steps up for SK. Nuke is now joined in. Loopy's got the wall up. There's no turret to sit on now as well. That arrow being down. Shock Blast dodge, but Loopy is now front line. Magnet Storm easy as that, and SK are dropping like flies. Isma gets an ulti off, but now that Irrelevant's here against his old team, he's laughing at him as he goes golden as well. BDS, all they have to do is land the poke, but now Genax is here without the backline damage. Dagda, it just keeps hurting watching these fights play out as SK can't get a single recipient outside of Paris, who ran to them.
Yeah, it's support for support, but it's BDS with the health bars at the end of it, which means more objectives for them. And again, they're winning out on map states, so it's just so difficult for SK. They really needed to have further engage coming from that support role if they were hoping to do anything here.
Dragon down. 5k gold lead, by the way. Dagda, by my feet, there's a lot of paper for no reason. It's just, it's the same questions I have about this game. Like, what are they doing here?
Why is there paper?
I don't know. There's a whole pile of paper here.
But yeah, like, the engage from Paris was, I think, a bit overeager. Like, as BDS here, I actually don't think you need to force this hard, and I think that's why we end up with being a little close as it starts to go, but the damage has already been dealt to the main carries, right? Rahel has to run away, Reeker can't really step up because he's been damaged as well, so you're heavily reliant then on Cassante and Zinzao to carry the fight, which is just never going to work out in your favor. So I think for BDS, if they weren't as far ahead, that could have gone poorly, but from this position, like, now Ice has all of his summoner spells back up, you're never going to get anything here.
SK are just still trying regardless. What can they do? 4 members. Ice does get hit, cleanse away. TP uses response, Chains of Corruption lands. Oh, dearie me. Reeker out with the Chaos Storm and wait for Nuke's poke, which doesn't land. So that's a reprieve for SK. They group up as 4 continuously as the Javelin toss was close. The only thing you can say is at least Genax is in a side wave. He didn't commit his teleport. He is doing something down bot.
Yeah, at least they got the TP out from Nuke, so you do have the teleport advantage and might be able to get bot tower out of it. So even if it doesn't quite work out, I think, again, this is kind of what we're saying, the best way for you to play this. Oh, hell! I was going to say is getting that summoner spell out from Ice, because at least then you can try and make plays on mid-wave, but you do have to play in these like minute-long increments of getting the waves, getting the cooldowns, and then trying again. Oh my god.
I'm just so anxious for him. Rahel, just, I mean, this is one of those games where you're just like, how do you play? Yay, turret. Okay, now Atakan time. And at least they have on hit for BDS, so it's going to go a little faster. Isma's trying to poke his head up. But 113 and Nuke, they're not even there. They just keep fishing out. And SK, as they slowly group up, look at the vision control that they have to walk through as a deep TP comes through from SK.
Yeah, they're trying to see if they can set up, but I don't know if you can really catch this. Genax needs to get on towards a key carry here and shove them into SK, but Relevant's playing keep away.
And they're going to turn for the fight. They've got a GA now available as well for BDS. They're grouped as 5. Isma's going to go in. Good Shattering Strike, and at least SK get to walk into the enemy this time, but a Magnet Storm from Hell draws them all in. And at melee range, Genax now doesn't want to be there. Nuke goes over the wall and batters them down. Thor's hammer right in the face as Isma gets a little bit of taste of Valhalla as well. BDS is still the ones standing, and they're the ones who look like they entered it, Dagda. I cannot express this enough. It just feels like it's in the too hard basket.
It was a nice attempt from SK. Genax trying to find that pinch so they could actually force BDS to play the team fight, but there was just nothing they could do. Irrelevant was slowing them down here. Good job slowing Isma specifically. And then SK, like, this is a decent ultimate from Loopy to try and start off the fight as BDS are trying to play for the choke, but he's just not hitting the carries. Nuke, Ice, Irrelevant all out to play in the back. Paris, with already having that Atacon buff, he's happy to go down. It's just, there's nothing you can do here.
That's the arcane buff. Nuke, by the way, at the start of the fight, I don't know if you saw, he got an enhanced shock blast on 3 people and just half HP was gone. I mean, it is nice to see, and it is a relatively clean game from BDS. Say what you will about the other side. I feel like for BDS, outside of, you know, there were a couple of questions with objectives in the early game, but the way they've transitioned this game in the mid-game, Dagda, their setup, really importantly, it has been nice to watch BDS actually put the pieces together quite cleanly from there.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think with this, it doesn't look like we're going to be having SK in playoffs. Like, sure, there are scenarios where they can make it, but my God, are they hoping for some sort of miracles throughout.
Quick reminder for everyone at home. Inner turret went down mid, inner turret went down bot. It's not even a Baron, it's just a GA at the Khan. And now in mid, the minion wave's going to strike through. Rahel just got chunked by a shock blast. Chains of Corruption are down, but SK have 4 members at half HP. The arrow, that's their engage tool, and it's down. Shock blast again. This time, Rika gets it to the face. And BDS just playing. I mean, it does really feel... I used to play this game called Ghost Online. It went in the bin, right? Went in the bin. But you'd sit there and you'd AFK, you'd just fish. Because that was the currency. You get the fish in. You know? And you just sit there and you'd fish over and over. You'd chill. You'd have a good time. You'd laugh because you're making money. It's obviously what BDS do. They're fishing.
Rahel was apparently the best fisher, so they were like, we're going to put everything on you. Well, this is what you won in the weekly tournament, is all the pressure in this game.
SK's internet died, you know, in this analogy. Like, their internet died. They haven't been fishing. They come back, they get one, and then, you know, it's like the old days, you know, back when I played RuneScape, I had to plug in, and my parents would get upset at me because I would unplug the phone because it dial-up back then.
Yeah.
So I unplugged the phone just to play RuneScape. Now, I don't know where this comes into the analogy of...
that people these days don't know what dial-up is.
It's crazy. Oh my god, that equalizer. Not too bad, but Rika is cooked. Yes, he is. Nuke, he did it again. Oh, that's a bit of dynamite. 5 members of BDS, very healthy. It's Baron time.
Yeah, I'm trying to see. I think this is the... Oh, no, never mind. Paris healed. It's the only bit of damage.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Nuke's going to solo. Loopy's up next. Who doesn't know what dial-up is, Dagda is? Loopy is going to get a bit of help from the enchant across the arrow, but Nuke just sidesteps it, and away he goes. I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah, I think that maybe SK are still playing on dial-up because that arrow was a little late. Okay,
yep.
Save. Or hell flashes.
Good flash.
They're trying here.
Genax is here. Yay. Oh, no. Irrelevance damage also hurts. Good flip back. Okay, shut down. But it is 10.5k gold lead.
They won the 2v3.
Nice.
They're getting places. It's, yeah. I think at that stage it's like a solace you can take. But I don't know how SK are ever supposed to get anything done here. Third dragon available for them if they really want to. But at this stage, I don't think you really need to play for this like dragon win con. Nah. You just instead go for turrets and use the Baron before you can.
Irrelevant. Can he solo kill Genax? Well, it won't be a solo kill. There's an all out, but resistance are now gone. He's overheating a bit. And Relevant versus Genax has some, nice story to it, but it won't really matter here as he tries to fry down Genax. He'll get flipped back, and there's another kill. Okay, SK fans, kind of be happy. I'm gonna be honest, guys. You're gonna need about 20 more of them.
Yeah, and a lot more. But again, I think for BDS, they still get the dragon. So even though the kills go across, like it's still a 9k gold lead, nearly a 10k gold lead. You're still not in a position to push out the map stage. So at least you slow the Baron a little bit, the Rebel Baron power play a little bit. But like, I don't think it matters too much. Again, like even without the Baron buff, the siege from this BDS composition when they get set up is insane.
I mean, SK are trying to push against that now. They group up mid. They want that mid outer turret that's been sitting there for 28 minutes of the game. Arrow comes through onto ice, instant cleanse away again. Here's Nuke, by the way, one of the biggest devils on the team as Isma jumps into him, but how easy is that going to be as his ult comes off cooldown? Chains Corruption as well is spreading like the plague. Loopy, meanwhile, sets up the door, but now it's wide open. Oh no. I see a teleport Dagda. It's irrelevant. And he's got a bone to pick with his old roster.
Oh my god.
He lays down the carpet and it's brand new. Take your shoes off because BDS are coming in. And once that door's down yet again, all they need to do is stamp their way to the kitchen because they're eating dinner early tonight.
BDS just walk over them. They say, thank you very much. We'll take the base. We'll take the game. I'm going to take your chances of playoffs out of your own hands.
It looks so rough. As Dagda said, only 2 wins accountable now. SK, it does feel, and it looks like this was their chance, but it has been beaten down every single portion of this game. Starting in the draft, BDS on 3 will knock down SK to open up their last week of regular season.
The two lads trying to figure out if they're going for the handshake or the hand five or if they're going for the fist bump, but glad they got it sorted.